This is the Sunshine Cathedral perspective. Queer faith speaks about the big American lie, when facts are not facts, to win elections. Conservatives think they have found a perfect way of swinging the results in their favor and winning the 2024 election. Spreading lies. Just unabashedly spreading misinformation and lies with the goal of creating a false narrative of what is actually going on in the country. Even to revise factual history. Over the last several years, there's been a considerable increase in media coverage of conspiracy theories. A former president falsely claimed the 2020 election was stolen, and his January the 6th Stop the Steal rally led supporters to attack the U.S. Capitol. This month, 2 years to the anniversary, he referred to these rioters as hostages. Conservatives claim that crime is rising because of soft liberals, while facts show an increase in crime in Republican-dominated states. The spread of lies is not limited to politics and the economy. Many conservatives want to take control of the way Americans think by offering absurd alternatives, banning inclusive and diverse cultural literature from schools and public libraries, compel students to focus on, quote, actual learning, end quote, rather than spending time knowing about history and civil rights. These conservatives seem to know no bounds. As a faithful queer community, we have to find a way to respond to this intentional denying and rewriting of history. Nikki Haley, a former governor of South Carolina, says that the U.S. isn't and has never been racist. What is she even talking about? Don't say gay, war on woke, gutting of the Voting Rights Act, overturning Roe v. Wade, making drag equivalent to porn, and calling it unsuitable for minors even with parental approval, criminalizing gender confirmation therapies, are all on this list. How many examples do we need to see right through their lies? They clearly want to favor straight, white, cis Christian nationalists and erase or silence the victims of their bigoted actions. What does a faith community do in response? Well, what have we always done? I mean, things are getting worse in some ways, more agitated, more aggravated, but this isn't the first time. It may be the first or second time in most of our lives that it's this bad. But throughout history, this is the 97th verse of this song. And so where people are intentionally deceptive to maintain power. And one of the ways that they can do that is by saying, the people who have different ideas than us, they just don't, they're not just wrong about an idea or of all these ways that could be done, ours is best. No, we have to make those people completely evil. And then they're the enemy, and then we're scared of them. And then this is a fight for, righteousness and goodness and whatever. We've seen it 1,000 times. And that's how you get the Inquisition. And that's how you get the Crusades. And that's how you get Jim Crow. And that's how you get the Salem witch trials. And so we've seen this a lot of times. And I think what we have to do is, one, we have to make sure that we don't internalize all of that hatefulness, that we don't internalize the lies. Because if we internalize it, we're not believing ourselves. Yeah. And we can't stand up to anything. We can't push back on anything. We can't offer a counter alternative effectively if we don't believe in ourselves. And also, if we internalize these wounds and nurture these wounds and keep these wounds, we're not going to treat each other very well. And so our internalized oppression will come out sideways, and then we're trying to knock each other down because we feel powerless. And so we attack each other just so that we feel like we have some measure of control or power in the world, which is part of the plan, by the way. Get the oppressed to be internally fighting, and then the oppressor can, take off with the money and the power. So we need to make sure we don't believe the lies about us. We don't internalize that. And then, while we're affirming ourselves and building ourselves up, offer the counter narrative, the alternative narrative. There's no proof that anyone will listen. There's no guarantee that anyone will believe our side of the story. We say it anyway. Right. We tell it, someone's going to hear it. It's going to save somebody's life. And then in the fullness of time, the pendulum does swing back and forth. Eventually, our message, and it may be 3 generations from now that it finally catches on, but our message will be heard, but only if we are the ones saying it right now. So we have to believe in ourselves, and we have to speak up and speak out, even if it seems like nobody's listening.
You know, for her to say that this country has never been racist, you can't undo Amistad.
Mm-hmm.
That whole trial that happened with the ship that sailed into the country here, and it's looking at historical stuff like that. And the more I hear about folks like this wanting to rewrite history, you can't rewrite any group of people's history without rewriting your own, and you are not the man but the foot on the bear.
Mm.
You know, however you want to paint the story, you're not the hero in this story. You know, if you want to rewrite history to make you appear that we've done all this great stuff, we've never had this, we've never done this, we've always been gracious, we've always been kind, that's not a story you can be able to rewrite, because this has not been that country on so many levels. And, you know, answer the last question is, what does a faith community do in response? For me, it's more than just praying anymore. You know, it's more than just simply singing the next verse of the song. Folks got to vote. Folks got to stand up and speak out for themselves. We can't rely upon anyone else to do it for anybody else. We got to do what's the Black community or whether it's the LGBTQ plus community. Folks are not going to do it for us. We have to stand up, act out, and act out again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the clarion call is here once again for us to act up and act out, and we have to do it, because if not, this element will continue to push that agenda to the point of, oh, well, we've always done it this way.
Yeah.
And that's not the case.
One of our mentors in seminary, Robert and I, and were you around for the Ed Rodman days?
Oh God, yeah.
Okay, so all of us, we were influenced by a person, the Reverend Canon Ed Rodman, and he used to always say, when we're looking at stories like this, follow the money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Follow the money. And we're talking about erasing and silencing and rewriting histories. Well, there's another word for that too, when it's done by the people in power, and it's called commodification, where you commodify the other so that you can profit from it. So by rewriting the story, who profits from rewriting the story? And we've seen 100 times growing up. We watch these Westerns. Oh, who was always the hero? White guy. Who was always the bad guy? The indigenous. It was their place to start with. Native Americans. They just came out of nowhere with their guns and their arrows to snatch children and rape women and burn houses. Well, why were all those people there in the first place? And where'd they get the guns? And so, but yeah, the cowboys and Indians, cowboys good guys, Indians bad guy. And that's what, and who's playing the bad guys? They didn't even find Native American actors to play the bad guys. There's always some Italian or some brown painted white person. It was sort of embarrassing. And, but that's our whole, the movie Philadelphia. Oh, we cried and the Oscars. And meanwhile, this gay man in Philadelphia, a major urban area, a stone's throw from New York, a stone's throw from DC, Philadelphia, there was not one gay lawyer that would take this man's cause.
Very good.
Who's the hero of the story? Some straight guy who didn't like gay folks. Who was even homophobic to start with. So who is the hero? The homophobe who at the end becomes a nice guy and saves the day, rescues the poor gay guy. Both of whom, by the way, played by straight actors. So we see this over and over where we rewrite the story. Even we all love the musical Rent. Oh, how amazing is the musical Rent. Great music, great story. Oh, we cry. Who are the heroes? Who are the story about? Two white straight men. During the AIDS crisis of the 80s and early 90s, who are two? Now, there are a gay couple, there's a lesbian couple, they fight all the time, they're deeply dysfunctional. And then there is an HIV positive, homeless gay male couple, and one of them dies. So but the people who survive and are at the center of it all, two white straight guys. So, which is not how the AIDS crisis in urban New York in late 1980s unfolded. Right. That was not, so, over and over and over again, we see Robert calls, because Robert's a little old, and I know you're the man, we see the man rewriting, and then now who is making money? The straight guy who wrote Rent. Now, he died young, but his estate has made $1 grillion off this story about gay people and people with AIDS, featuring white. So we make the white guys the heroes in the racist stories. We make the straight people the heroes in the gay stories. And that's been going on forever. And people make profits off that, and people get to assuage their guilt. Oh, look, on stage, I'm the hero. I wasn't part of the people. I'm one of the good guys, and we miss that a lot of times because we're just so happy to see ourselves in the story. that we forget, oh yeah, but I was the one who died. Or I was the one who couldn't maintain a decent relationship. But at least queer folks are up there. And so this is a rewriting story. So this is not new. This is not new. So when we see these people trying to rewrite the story, and what is their profit from doing that? They're not the bad guys. Moderates may consider them, worth voting for. Follow the freaking money.
And just one additional point. You talked earlier about rewriting history and that it's been done before. And we look back just at the previous century. There was a major war, World War II, and it was promulgated by a guy who told the big lie and had a whole group, a whole media group that said if you repeat the big lie often enough, people are going to believe it eventually. So what do? We burn the books so that you don't know that history. What do? We constantly tell stories about how January 6, 2021 was just a bunch of good people getting together trying to make sure that the government functioned. Never mind that they were rioters that tried to destroy the Capitol, injured police officers, went after the Vice President of the United States of America. And if the senators and Congress people who were in the Capitol at the time did not find a place to hide, they would have been dead. That's the true story. But if you listen to those who are talking about it now, Nikki Haley and that orange guy, you would believe that it was just another walk in the park. And I think one of the politicians actually said, oh no, those were just tourists going through the Capitol. So you tell the big lie often enough to enough people on a media platform that way too many people follow, then you're going to get what we're getting right now.
The next time you take a tour of a government building, I want you to smear shit on the wall and see what happens. And see what happens.
Yeah. And here's my word for them. Anybody who is following that big lie, I have no respect for you.
Amen.
Because at this point, it's a choice.
Yeah, it's a choice. You know better. But now you're making an informed decision to follow the big lie.
Yeah.
And I have no respect for that because I know that you're out to get me.
Hello.
You're out to get the people I love. You're out to get somebody else. You're out to rewrite history. I don't have time for that. Fuck that bullshit. So, so that.
How do you really feel?
Next up, we are excited to tell you about our next adventure with our global fellowship. In 2024, we'll be going where the hills are alive as we explore Austria and Alpine Europe for Gay Oktoberfest. Space is extremely limited, so make sure to go to happeningout.travel/sunshine to reserve your space. That's happeningout.travel/sunshine. Robert and I are going to be there. Reverend Kevin's going to be there. You will 100% want to be there.